genre.
Hello and welcome back to the Doctor's Companion presents Doctor Who, The Long Way Round, the weekly podcast where we review and discuss every episode of Doctor Who, one doctor at a time. I'm Nick Jimenez.
I'm Scott Corelli.
And I'm Cass Fredrickson.
Today on the show, we'll be discussing Dio de los Daleks, the third Doctor.
God, I
The
wish
third
that's what this
Doctor's-
was called.
With like an exclamation point.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
man. They're wearing like lucha libre masks.
Oh, God.
Oh man.
That would be.
Yeah, the third Doctor's 10th story and the long-awaited comeback of the Daleks,
Mhm.
as I'm sure you'll get into, Scott.
Yeah. This is the first episode with the Daleks since The Evil of the Daleks in 1967. So this is 5 years since the Daleks were last seen on Doctor Who. And in general, Barry Letts, the producer at the time, was sort of like anti bringing back old villains. Like he wanted to do new stuff. Him and Terrence Dicks both were like, yeah, we're like kind of in agreement that that's what we would prefer to do. Because they really wanted this era to be kind of like a hard reset for the show, so that it didn't have the baggage of before. So that concept has been happening since the 70s of like, we really need to make this more new viewer friendly. The
only thing I can kind of compare it to is like comic books. How?
Yeah, like a new number one.
Like, yeah, that hits periods of like, okay, it's gotten too convoluted. We're going to hit a reset. And then that's like, we've forgotten our roots.
Yeah.
Bring the weird stuff back.
So true. So Lewis Marks, the writer of this episode, previously wrote a little story that we just watched 2 weeks ago called Planet of the Giants. Or Planet of Giants. Nope. Yep. Just Planet of Giants. I always get the title.
Really?
Yeah, I always get that wrong. Yeah, Planet of Giants, not the Giants, because they're not actually
It's like
giants, I assume.
It's like Interview with the Vampire.
Right, yeah, but the
Yeah.
but the opposite. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, so it is Planet of Giants, and 6 years later he wrote, no, longer than that? 6 years after contributing Planet of the Giant. I don't know. They went to him for a new story idea in 1970. And he cooked this thing up. And his idea here was just generally about guerrilla soldiers from the future coming back to the past to stop a horrible thing from happening. And I gotta say, there's a lot in this that I'm like, man, I was like, wow, this is like kind of like the Terminator. Oh, wait, Terminator doesn't happen for like, like almost 15 years from now.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I also, I don't know, Nick, how long ago you watched a George Romero movie, but was getting a lot of George Romero vibes out of this, like especially like Day of the Dead and Dawn of the Dead specifically, but just like a lot of people just running around with guns, in like
Absolutely
wide shots,
sort of light social commentary.
Yeah.
I weirdly thought about George A. Romero too. And, but yeah, that's interesting.
But this
That
happens
kind of,
before
like-
any of that. Like this is
well,
only
because there's that episode of, because what's that fourth Doctor story that everyone kind of attributes to, like, oh, this inspired Alien, like Ridley Scott watched this. and it was inspired by Alien.
Ark in Space.
Ark in Space, yeah.
Yeah.
it's like this is kind of maybe stealth Terminator.
I mean, that's entirely possible. I mean, I think if we learned anything about what happened with Terminator is that James Cameron doesn't like admitting that he reads things and takes ideas and adapts them into
No.
original stories.
All of his ideas came to him in a dream.
Right. Yeah, definitely. And not Harlan Ellison. Absolutely not. In any event, he was not sued by Doctor Who over Terminator, but he was sued by Harlan Ellison and he lost. But in any event, this story. Okay, so the original concept of this was just that, just the guerrilla soldiers, a war in the future, and coming back in time to stop all of that. And Terrence Dicks was like, no, that sucks. No one cares about that. Why would anyone care about a story like that? That's so boring. Like you're telling me that people are going to want to watch something about a future that they're not even going to see? No, that sucks. That's boring. No. And he was like, well, what if you get to see, what if there's like a time loop thing and you get to see the Doctor and a Joe from like the end of the story at the beginning of the story. And he was like, now you're talking. Now you're speaking my language. Something about that really tickled Terrence Dicks, and he was really into the idea of a kind of like a time loopy, paradoxical kind of story. So he gave it the green light. At the same time, let's see, what is his name? Hugh Weldon, the BBC's managing director, was like, he calls them up and he's like, hey, can't help but notice you guys haven't had the Daleks on this show in a while. Remember them? They were a big hit. I think maybe it would get some people watching the show. I don't know. Call me crazy. Should somebody like contact Terry Nation and see if we can get the Daleks back on the show? Terry Nation had spent the past 5 years trying to get the Daleks on a 1 hour drama series in America. That was he had come to America and he pitched every studio on a Daleks television series. Yeah.
Would you say like an hour long drama? That's the first thing that popped into my head was like Coronation Street,
Sure.
Or like Luther, like a Dalek just rolling up to a crime scene in like a leather jacket.
Well, that probably would have sold the show, to be perfectly honest. But they loved a crime procedural back then at the time. But sci-fi shows were a little more hit and miss. I feel like if you tried again in the 80s, maybe something would have went, because then by that point you had like Battlestar Galactica, V, Star Trek: The Next Generation. Red Dwarf was England, not America.
Okay, swing and a miss.
Yeah. But yeah, there were sci-fi shows that were like relative successes on American television in the 80s, but not so much in the 70s. So I think technically Battlestar Galactica started in the 70s, but late 70s. This is late 60s, early 70s. Anyway, America was not interested, and so he went back to England with his tail between his legs, having not done anything with the Daleks in that time. He ended up taking a job on another show. The Persuaders is the name of the show. And his contract with that show was exclusive, so he was not allowed to write an episode of Doctor Who at this time. But he was like, hey, nothing's going on with the Daleks. As long as you credit me as their creators in the story, I'll let somebody else write it. I just want final script approval. And they're like, all right. So they went to a writer, the plan being that this was going to be sort of like the season finale of the 9th season, this being the season premiere of the 9th season. They go to a writer named Robert Sloman, and he pitched them on a storyline that would eventually be called The Daleks in London, a 6-part serial. That would have been the finale. However, Letts and Dix were a little concerned about the original story that was the premiere, which at the time was being called The Ghost Hunters, and then eventually became Years of Doom, and then eventually at this point had settled on the title The Time Warriors. Which is, kind of a cool title for this, actually, especially if you take the Daleks out of it. I know, Cass, I know, but
You're right.
I know. But
I think that's interesting.
yeah, but it's interesting. Yeah, Nick, there's a really fantastic classic Third Doctor story coming up in a couple of seasons called what is it? Is it
The
it's
Time
not
Warrior.
It's just Time Warrior, right? Yeah.
It's the Time Warrior.
Oh, it is
yeah.
so it's singular though. The Time
Yeah.
Warrior.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like the Terminator.
Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting. I guess that title, they were like, no, that's a cool title. We need to circle back on that at some point. So they were concerned about the premiere not having anything like punchy in it. They're like, when we first came back, we had a new Doctor. That was our first season premiere. Our second season premiere introduced the Master. This season premiere is, it has a paradox, I guess. That was like kind of the only thing of interest to Barry Letts and Terrence Dicks. So they were like, I think maybe what if the future bad guys are actually being controlled by the Daleks, and this is the return of the Daleks to the show here, and we go ahead and we let Robert Sloman stop writing Daleks in London, and we scrap that story, and put the Daleks here. So that's what they did. And then this story became Day of the Daleks as a result. And Robert Sloman, very unfortunately, was like, okay, well, I have this other story idea, and pitched them on a story that will eventually become Cass's favorite Third Doctor story, The Time Monster.
I knew that name sounded familiar.
Yeah. In his defense, he has had a hand in a lot of really good stories as well. So, the Time Monster just appears to be a very unfortunate occurrence of him writing a really bad one. Robert Sloman's other stories are The Demons, The Green Death, and Planet of the Spiders.
Okay, yeah, those are all good.
Yeah, those are all super solid. So
Yeah.
I don't know what happened with that other one, but yeah. So anyway, that's how we get to Day of the Daleks. There are only 3 Daleks in this, because despite the fact that the BBC head manager required them to bring the Daleks back, he also gave them absolutely zero money to make new Daleks. So they had to build these Daleks refurbished like so many Apple iPhones. They had to refurbish them from pieces that were laying around in storage from their original story, The Daleks, from the 60s. So these are just repainted parts that they stuck together and they were able to make 3 Dalek Dalek casings out of those parts from that original story. Which I think overall, I think this episode is like a kind of action-packed and fairly entertaining. I think it plays better watching in a row than it probably would have as a serial. I think it would have been really boring and kind of repetitive as a serial, but watching it all at once, I think it's solid. But God, I wish there was more Daleks in this. There's the Daleks are barely in this, despite the title. But it is what it is. And there you go. I also want to shout out what are these guys called? The Gorgons or
the Morgos or the Morgus?
Oh my gosh, I have that wiki page. The
Ogrons, who are just they're like 6 foot tall Centaurans. Like they're like Centaurans if they were tall.
They look like cheap imitations of like the Uruk-hai from Lord of the Rings.
Also that.
You know?
Yeah, it's like you merge the two things. Like if a Centauran
They're
and
a
or
little
Uruk-hai like
Uruk-hai.
had a baby. That's
Yeah.
what this
They're a
thing
little
is.
OG gorilla design from Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Like the mouth
That too.
especially.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, kind of interesting.
Did they ever come back? Or did they ever make another appearance after this? The Ugrons?
I don't know.
I don't
actually.
know.
That's a great question. Let me see. Day of the Daleks.
I think it's funny that the Daleks are stubbornly keeping them on their employ. Like the controller constantly is like, why do you have these things? They're slow, they're dumb. People are like, we trust them. We don't trust you. And like,
it is the first appearance of the Ogron, so it looks like they have been in a few other things. Let me see if I can get a list of appearances somewhere, anywhere. They might have only reappeared in other material.
BFAs.
Like comics and prose and stuff like that.
Yeah, it looks like it's just books.
Yeah, books, games, prose, audio, stuff like that. Doesn't look like they've ever returned. I will say, I think the most horrifying thing about the Ogrons is if you look at their face for too long, they look like humans wearing an alien's face. Like they just, because you can kind of see the human in the eyes
seams.
and the mouth. And it just looks like they're literally, it's it's bad makeup because it's a cheap show, but what can you do? But like, they're just like, it's like there's not enough like makeup coloring around their mouth and their eyes. And it literally looks like in The Walking Dead when that crew started wearing like zombie faces over their faces to hide in zombie masses. And you're like, these people are insane. That's what this looks like to me.
No, every close-up of an Ugron was a poor choice.
Yep. Definitely.
I was like, no, shouldn't have done that.
They spent all their money on Daleks. All three of them.
Tell you what, they look good. The three of them look really good.
Yeah.
I think
they do. I just wish they were featured more.
For sure.
Yeah. Anyway,
I'm never gonna want less Daleks.
Yeah, I mean, you say that now. Let's see. Anything else? I don't think there's anything else. I'll say
please.
this. I'll say this is just a weird detail and just like, I don't know, man. Like it's weird how they ran things back then. But every single ongoing character on this show, aside from the Doctor and Joe, were all literally signing a new contract week to week. They were all on day player contracts starting this season.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. And it's because they were like, I don't know, we might shift things. Who knows? And I think part of it was that they knew they were going to start using the TARDIS this season. And so they were like, we're not always going to be at the military base. So
right.
Yeah, like I'm not going to pay you for episodes you're not going to be in, Nicholas Courtney. And he was like, I don't have another job. No, he probably did. I don't know. But yeah. So only John Pertwee and Katie Manning were signed up for the full season. But yeah, kind of a weird thing. So anyway, that's it. I don't think there's anything else of importance. Just like general like production stuff, which is pretty basic. I am. Oh, go ahead, Nick.
Cass, were you gonna say something?
Oh yeah, I thought it was interesting that this version of this story that we watched on Tubi is like the 2011 remastered version with like the CGI like establishing shots, and then the Daleks, all the Dalek voices were redubbed by Nicholas Briggs, who does the Daleks in New Who, which is why they sound super good.
Yeah, that's right. Because in the original version of the story, they sound horrible.
Yeah,
that's why they're dubbed over, because some BBC producer guy like in charge of like post production. That's why I forgot to mention this, because they sound amazing in the episode we watched. But some guy in post production was like, I'm sick of the Daleks sounding like that. we're going to change it up. Do something else. Do something different. And they hired these guys to do it, and they just did it with their actual voices. Like there's no like modulation. They're like they're just like doing it. and that's what they used in the final episode, and it sounds awful. And I guess it's annoyed everyone for long enough that they're like, yeah, we should fix that when we're putting in the modern special effects, because
That's funny.
Big yikes.
Do you know? I'm gonna look up after the show if that original footage exists, though. I would like.
Oh
to hear
yeah,
that
yeah. I think it
very
does.
much.
Yeah, you could probably find it pretty easily. I'm curious.
Thank you, Cass. But no, but like the visual effects were tripping me out because I was like, wow,
Yeah.
this is from 1973. This is crazy.
I want to know everyone's thoughts on this. Cass, I know this is a revisit for you. Nick, first time with Day of the Daleks. What'd you think?
I had a lot of fun. Now that you brought up George A. Romero, I can't stop thinking about like the parallels. Like, not to skip to the end, but in episode 4, there's like a like backyard home movie level like attempt to make it look like a swarm of Daleks are descending upon the manor.
Yeah, so true.
But it's just the same 3 looping like 4 times.
Yeah.
And it just reminds me of like kids making a zombie movie in the backyard or something. But yeah, this was it was an entertaining ride. It's an engaging story. I really just was swept up by the Third Doctor's debonair charm this whole story. I made a note at one point. I think he is drinking wine for like 40% of this episode.
Yep.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and that is predominantly featured in the moment that I've been hyping up all season long. The most iconic Third Doctor moment of all time for me, which is judo flipping a guy while holding his drink, finishing the drink, and then flipping him again.
Yep.
That is the first thing that I imagine when somebody's like, yeah, what do you think of John Pertwee? And I was like, well, he did that thing that one time, and that was pretty cool.
Didn't even put his drink down.
Slowly puts it on the coffee table after he finishes it. Just like, no. I want to show this to Steven Seagal and be like, this is how cool you should be. This is what you want to be doing. And you're not good at this. Because this rules. Yeah, what did you guys think of that moment?
I mean, it was incredible. It was like peak.
I was wondering if it was that or when he's just like lounging, like
yes, yeah. But he's fully a prisoner. He's been captured, and he is just lounging, just like like a magazine spread.
Yeah, on like a sparkly body pillow in the future, drinking wine. Like, I'm like, I wonder if it's this moment that Scott.
I mean, because
I was thinking about it.
It's pretty good. I just think the judo flip like is just like kind of everything about his Doctor all rolled into one.
Yes.
Because it has the lounging kind of thing with the casualness of the wine, but also a judo flip, which is no other Doctor does that. It's just him.
I had the thought of like, I bet, how we all kind of have that period in our lives that we look back on fondly of like, wow, I was really like cool for that one snapshot of time. I was just a real badass. And I think like the Third Doctor is like what the Doctor, like, man, remember that one time I flipped that guy?
So true.
I could never do that again.
For some reason.
That's so funny.
Why. Yeah, so good. I love this. Cass, what were your thoughts on revisiting this one?
This was fun. I found the guerrilla fighter plot line to be a little thin, like a little less engaging this time around, but like every time the Daleks were doing their Dalek thing, I was having a good time. I also liked the I don't remember his name. I'm sure I'll find it in this wiki that I have open right now. The guy in the future, like the controller guy.
Yeah. Controller.
Yeah, with like the smarmy voice, and he's like manipulating everybody. I liked him. But The doctor is just eating in this, and I I love that for him. Like, I love that Pertwee is like a very he just likes food. Like, he's always eating.
He was the Brad Pitt of his day.
Always, just snacking, pecking.
I think I look cooler when I'm drinking and eating.
I mean, he's not wrong.
Yeah.
I had the thought this episode, Controller is a Doctor Who stock character that I miss in the new era. Because I feel like in just the 4 or 5 years of the show past, we've had like 8, 9 stories with like a controller, like a dude in the control room that's like, I think you'll find that you should turn the shields up. More.
Yeah.
This guy has real like Imperial officer vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and I don't disagree about the guerrilla warfare stuff. I think that I mean, you know, I think to a certain extent Letts and Dix were right in terms of like, you gotta give us more than what you're giving us. And I don't think they were right about the paradoxical thing. Oh, that's the other thing that I forgot to mention. That's the thing. So the director of this story, God, this is so shitty. It's so funny though. The director of this story, Paul Bernard, he's directing the story, and he gets to the 4th episode and he's filming the last episode where the episode is supposed to end on the same scene as with the paradox, but from the perspective of the ones that like are in the TARDIS and see the younger versions.
Right.
And instead of filming that, he decided that he should let everybody go home early, because he's like, we don't need that. We already saw it once. And then that was it.
That's
and
the whole. Oh my god!
Letts was like, "Where's the other scene?" He's like, "I decided not to shoot it." And he's like, "What?" and that was that. Like, that was it. Like,
wow.
So there's absolutely no payoff to the one thing that Terrence Dix actually liked about this story.
Oh my god.
Can you imagine the confidence it takes?
I feel like that was just a thing back then, right? Like, everyone was just so confident. Like how the BBC archive people were so confident no one would ever want to watch old episodes of Doctor Who ever again. So let's just melt them down and use them for scrap or whatever, you know? Yeah, everyone was just so confident about that. It was just like a vibe back then. I don't know. Too much confidence, I would say.
Because but we don't need to film the last scene in the script,
right? Yeah, we already filmed it earlier. They get it.
Oh my god! I'm looking to see if this man ever worked on Doctor Who ever again.
That's what I'm checking too. And unfortunately, he directed the Time Monster, so they did punish him.
Damn it! And Frontier in Space. That one sucks too. Okay.
Yeah, they did punish him by giving him Time Monster. So
funny.
You know.
Because the episode has a very like magnanimous, like very like just abrupt ending.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why.
Yep.
Because he was like, I'd rather go home early. Fuck it.
That's so funny.
And also apparently that's just like big like workman entertainment industry British people. Like, they're very like, 5:00, see ya, we're done, bye. Wait, we're not done, can't you stay? Nope, going home. You know. And
on the one hand, good for them, but on the other hand, like,
it's just crazy. It's just, it feels like
so funny.
Yeah, it's just I both love I love that they are so focused on like, no, we have a 9 to 5 workday and there's nothing you can do about it. That's why we have a union. And I'm like, you know, good for you guys. Also, I never want to work with you because it just feels like they're not there to like make this thing. They're there to work. And when the workday's over, they're done. And I'm like, do you actually care about this thing then? Like, that's what I would always be worried about, you know? But I don't know. Anyway,
that's so
you know, not that I
funny.
want people to work for 12 fucking hours or whatever, but you know.
Right.
God, what was I just saw something about a director that was like like forced people into like 20-hour days
Oh my God.
to get something done in time, because it was like he had to get it done on time or he would lose Final Cut or something like that. So he made everybody work 20-hour days because he was still a perfectionist. And I was like, that's a nightmare, and that's stupid.
ridiculous.
And he never should have agreed to that timetable if he didn't think he could actually do it without 20-hour days. That's insane. But
Wow.
whatever.
Has there ever been a thing on Doctor Who called the timetable?
No.
Like a TARDIS, but it's a table?
I don't know.
Just a table going swirling through the vortex.
That's so funny.
That is funny. Well, there is wasn't there a bit in an earlier episode of the Pertwee era where he's rebuilding the TARDIS and it's just the console in the middle of the room and it disappears? Yeah, that's in Inferno, right?
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he goes into the.
Yeah. So in a way,
Sure, that's like a table,
before.
basically, yeah.
Yeah, they just didn't call it that, but yeah, that's basically what was going on.
The time machine in this is just like a black box.
Like a. Yeah.
Mhm.
Like a breaker box.
That's true. It's still under construction. I think the first time they actually use it is in the next story that we cover next season, which is a favorite of Cass's, I believe.
The next Pertwee story?
Yeah.
Where he gets the TARDIS back? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's Curse of
so
Paladin.
We the part
Peladon?
early on in the
Peladon?
episode where the doctor's like Joe is like, wow, doctor, you sure are eager to get out of here. You can't stop making repairs to this TARDIS. Scott and I just watched The Empire Strikes Back for an episode of the New Republic Archives.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, this is exactly where Han Solo was at the beginning of Empire. He's like, I gotta get the fuck out of here. He's starting to get attached to me.
I also love the multiple times that the doctor calls out the military for being like brutish, violent idiots, and then like murders multiple people in this story.
With the ray
just
gun.
absolutely vaporizes some guys.
Yeah, I was watching this earlier this afternoon while Norman was sitting at his computer, and he just like looked up on the screen and saw like Pertwee shoot at them with like the ray gun. And he's like, "Wow, it's wild seeing the doctor just shoot people."
Yeah, I know.
And it's not
It
even
would
like
almost
for some...
be it would almost be more forgiving if like the fourth Doctor did that, because it would be
Which
like,
he absolutely does.
yeah, sure, but like on a regular basis, I would
Yeah.
say. It would be more forgiving because like it's sort of like, you know, Capaldi's Scottish because Karen Gillan was Scottish, like Amy was Scottish, and it's like,
Mhm.
you know, the thing that we always talk about where each Doctor is a reaction to the Doctor before. Or inspired by the era before, that kind of thing. So like you could be like, oh, he was around the military all the time and now he uses guns.
Yeah.
But the fact that Pertwee is always calling them out and then doing like just doing the exact opposite is it's just really funny to me. I
He's
don't know.
like karate chopping people like all
Yeah, he
over the
is.
place in this.
Yeah.
he could like... It was weird thinking about him in those terms, but there were moments during the scene where like multiple guards would come in and they'd be like, oh, he's fine. We'll take him out. He'll like do a flip or kick him. And it's,
Yeah.
he's never like this again.
Oh man, never again. Never. I hope 15 brings back judo. Like they always do like a few references to it every once in a while. Like,
Yeah.
like a doctor will like break it out and be like, "Oh yeah, you don't know this about me, but I'm actually like a quadruple black belt in judo."
I feel like 13
like-
did that once.
Yeah, I think 10 definitely did at one point, just like randomly.
Okay.
I don't remember that.
I feel like 10 did it. I don't remember when though. I'm sure we'll get to it. But
It seems
in
like a
any event.
12 thing. But that
Maybe
also might be
12.
just like the coat, you know?
Yeah, it could be a
Mm.
12 thing. I don't know. Anyway, I feel like it's come up a couple of times that like it's in the Doctor's back pocket if they ever need to use it. Yeah, they can break the safety glass and hit the button and go for it, but they just never choose to do that. What were you gonna say about 15? You're not into him doing judo, Nick?
I guess because he definitely is borrowing three's like charm and is cool and is like kind of like never really being that stressed out. You're kind of just along for the ride. But he's such a lover. I can't see him like just karate chopping people.
Yeah, I guess my argument with that would be like, I mean, we kind of barely know him. Like
exactly.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's true.
yeah, so it's entirely possible, you know. But you know what else would be really cool is if he used judo, what he learned in judo, but only like the like ultra defensive stuff, as in like all he does is dodge. But he dodges like effortlessly and like he's like really good at it, you know? I think that would be like really fun, where like all he does is like move out of the way and they like punch a wall and hurt their hand and like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's like technically you did that to yourself.
Or he teaches Ruby judo.
Yeah, no, that would be cool too. And then Ruby goes in there.
Yeah.
Takes out a room full of guys.
Like that
room
part
full
in
of
Toy
Daleks
Story
with
where
judo.
they push Buzz's arm and he does the karate chop.
Yeah. How long into the new show do you think it'll be before we get a recurring villain? Let's just assume that what's her face isn't actually the Ronnie. Assuming that, I hope that's not true, but assuming that, how long do you think it'll be before we get like the Daleks or the Cybermen or something like that? Do you think we ever will?
I remember hearing a quote or reading a quote that RTD is like, we're the Daleks are taking a nap for a while.
Okay. All right. That's good. I don't mind that. It'll
What do you
just be
think, Cass?
it'll be weird though if he never gets a Dalek story, you know?
Right.
That would be weird.
Yeah, it would be really weird. All right, Cass, you want to take us through these recaps?
Oh, sure. So episode 1, it starts with this UN representative, Sir Reginald Styles. He's like working late at this fancy mansion in the middle of nowhere. There's this guy that appears with a ray gun, threatens to shoot him, and then like disappears. And he's convinced he's seen a ghost. So unit is called to like investigate. And that's how the Doctor is brought into this.
You don't know this yet, but I've got my best man on it.
Right? the Brigadier's so proud of him. Like,
I know.
He doesn't say it to his face, but he's just like, yeah, that's my best man, of course. And there's like a Cold War story element to this whole serial where there's like tensions are high and there's like peace talks with China. It's China, right?
Yeah.
And you know, like the world is on the brink of war and like everything kind of hinges on this conference that's going to happen, and this Sir Styles is kind of leading the peace talks, which I thought was kind of cool, like political commentary. And so the first episode, like the Doctor and Joe just kind of spend the night in this house. He calls it like ghost hunting. And basically all he does is raid the wine cellar and eat cheese.
Hell yeah.
Which
My
is
kind
like,
of night.
Yeah.
He has his little aside to himself. And he's like, oh, what a good humored wine. Wine after my own heart.
Yeah. Drinking wine, eating cheese, watching spooky stories. Yeah, that's my kind of night. That's what I'm talking about.
The one interaction with like Benton and Yates in this episode was like really mean. Like I used like because like Benton like sneaks into the house and wants food, so Joe like brings him their little like charcuterie board, and then like Yates busts him and then drinks the wine anyway and then leaves.
RHIP, Cass.
Right? What a dick. Rank has its privileges.
Wow.
And then it intercuts with like these like futuristic like guerrilla fighters who are trying to sneak into the house for reasons unknown. There's, I guess this guy's name is just the Controller.
Mm.
In like this futuristic, like it looks kind of dystopian, this control room with like the green lighting and everything. And it's revealed that he is working for the Daleks. And I like that when the word Dalek is in the title, they don't shy away. They don't play coy with it. Like they're introduced. It's not like they don't wait for the cliffhanger. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. That's true.
So they want their enemies to be destroyed, and then like the episode ends with them saying exterminate.
Mm.
In fact,
Classic.
Cass, here are my notes. So
Okay.
I'm just going to go through the 4 cliffhangers. The 4 cliffhangers
Yes.
are exterminate them.
Mm-hmm.
Episode 2, it's the Doctor seeing the Dalek in a sewer like Pennywise, and then it yells exterminate.
Hello, Doctor.
Yeah, does it? And then 3, the cliffhanger for 3 is when the Doctor is strapped down to the table and the Daleks are saying you will be exterminated. So they, I, as much as they are not in this episode, they really do milk the Daleks for all they're worth, cliffhanger wise.
Yeah, especially being shoehorned in the way they were into this
Mhm.
story. Certainly. So I wanna talk about one aspect of this story that I think is a really cool concept that I just don't think that they were out of place in 1972 to execute it properly.
Mhm.
But the idea that time travelers are like mistaken as ghosts because they do something that paradoxically removes them from the timeline in front of the person.
Yeah.
That is a really cool idea. Like that
Mhm.
is super cool. And I just feel like it's not executed particularly well in this, and it bums me out because that is such a cool idea.
Yeah, because it's like taking the Back to the Future like photograph element and like making
Right.
it in like 3D space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's I can't remember what episode it is, but he's in the maybe episode 1, but he's in the manor with Brigadier, and he says like not all ghosts are from the past.
Mm-hmm.
Like some come to us from the future. I'm like, ooh, that's a cool idea. It's so simple, but
It's cool. That's cool. And later this season, a long way around, we'll deal with other Doctor Who ghosts.
ooh.
Yes.
And those are also not executed particularly well.
I do remember thinking that this cliffhanger did not pass the Nick test because this has definitely happened before.
For sure. Thank you. This has definitely been done before, but it's kind of a play the hits, you know.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah. I think it's forgivable because it's the first time we hear them say that after 5 years.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, whenever RTD gets back around to the Daleks in the new show, yeah, I want to hear them say exterminate. I want to be like, hell yeah, they're back.
Is
You know?
is Revolution of the Daleks, is that the last time we've seen them?
Yes.
Because they're not. Are they in
Flux
Eve
at all?
Yeah, Eve of the Daleks. That's the last one. Right?
Eve of the Daleks. The kind of
Is
Groundhog
that the
Day
last one? Yeah, the Groundhog Day one. That's
was
the
that
last time.
was that what that was called?
I think so.
Yeah. I think you're
Yeah,
right.
because it was right. Because
It was Revolution of the Daleks.
Well, it was.
no.
It was just. I think it was just called. It was called Resolution.
Oh, it was
Then it was
Resolution.
It was Resolution, then Revolution of the Daleks, and then Eve of the Daleks. I believe those are the 3 New Year's specials.
Because I think Resolution is the scary one where the girl is turning into a Dalek, right?
Right. And
Yes.
then Revolution is the one with Captain Jack. And then Eve of the Daleks
It's like
is
the romantic comedy
the
one.
Groundhog Day romantic comedy. Yeah.
Huh.
Did not mean to derail us like that.
No, I didn't
But-
even remember that second one.
Yeah. I think are they in
That's the one I remember
Power
the
of the-
least.
Power of the Doctor? Are they in Power of the Doctor?
God.
I know they're not like I think they might be featured maybe, but like they're not, kind of
Yeah.
like how they're technically in that upcoming episode in the Third Doctor, the bad one that this guy wrote.
Time Monster?
No, the other one. Not Paladin, but like the sequel, Frontier in Space, right?
The sequel to Peladon?
Yeah, isn't that the sequel to Peladon?
It's something Monster of Peladon, maybe?
Oh, then it's not that one that I'm thinking of. I think it's the Frontier one.
Mm.
There's one where there's like 3 baddies in it, and one of them is the Daleks.
Mhm.
And it's not particularly good. I think it's
Yeah.
that one. Anyway, yeah, because sometimes the Daleks they just show up.
They just are
Like
there,
in-
yeah.
Yeah, like in another episode we're going to be covering this season. In Pandora Opens,
Yeah.
like
Right.
they're there. I wouldn't call that a Dalek story just because they're there,
Mhm.
But yeah. Anyway, I think that was the last time though. I think Eve was the last Dalek story.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty
It's
sure.
like how sometimes there's an episode of Batman where he'd go to Arkham and he'd walk past the Joker's cell.
Mhm.
It's not a Joker story all of a sudden.
They exchange words and then leave.
Right.
Batman, Joker.
Son of a bitch.
Oh, I'm gonna get out of here. Arr.
That's funny.
So yeah.
Anyway,
So,
anything
let's
from
see.
part 1? I mean, this is where the flip
the
happens.
flip happens, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The wine flip. Absolutely iconic.
It hit me at one point at Scott and Cass. There are also 3 gorillas.
Oh, true.
There's the
That is
lady and the
true.
2 guys.
I
Oh,
will
yeah.
say kudos to them for making one of the gorillas a lady.
The leader. She's
Yeah,
like
the
the
leader-
leader of their squad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, wow. All right.
Yeah, she's cool.
Putting your politics where your mouth is.
Yeah.
Good job, Doctor Who. Nice.
She had that thing where she had a very normal name, but it was spelt funny. Like her name was like Pat, but it ended like with an H or something.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It was like an A name, but yeah, it was like future spelling.
Angela.
So the Daleks are like yelling that the enemies need to be exterminated because the Doctor is futzing with this little time machine box that
Yeah.
they found on the grounds of the manor. And he, being the Doctor, wants to make it work. And so these guerrilla fighters from the future are like, no, turn the time machine off. You'll like draw their attention. They like obviously they don't say like whose. And then there's kind of like they basically like they don't abduct Joe and the Doctor. They like keep them hostage. They like tie them up in the cellar. And then they're the
The
thing that I
unit
don't like.
soldiers don't when they look around, they're like, oh, they're not here.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
weird.
The thing that I don't like about a lot of these like really thin Doctor Who plots is that like if either party would let the other speak for like more than 5 words, like it could be resolved so quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a fair amount of like running in place in this episode.
Yeah. So the people from the future are there to kill this
Styles.
diplomat, the Sir Styles, and the Doctor's like, well, you missed him, he's in China. And they're like, well, no, you're lying, and there's just this whole thing. So they keep them in the cellar. They are trying to are keeping they're like waiting in the house for Styles to come back. And I don't really know what their plan is, honestly.
Beat them up, I guess.
Yeah, they're just gonna wait there. Unit's looking for the Doctor. The in the future, like the Daleks and the controller are trying to track this rogue like time machine signal, because they are trying to kill these people from the future, because they're enemies of the Daleks. Let's see. A lot of nothing just kind of happens in this episode, but it's like it's not like boring. I don't know. It's really weird.
So there's a
There-
part where they're trying to untie themselves, and Joe's like, "These knots are like really hard," and the doctor's like, "Well, you know what I think we should do," and Joe's like, "Wait," and the doctor's like, "Mm-hmm," and so there's even a point where they stop trying to escape, and they're just gonna like wait for like the next thing to happen, and that is what
Yeah.
happens. Eventually, they just come back down into the basement because they need the doctor to like tell the brigadier that everything's fine and not to like go over there to the manor.
Right.
Mhm.
But then they go over there anyway, so like it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So
And then Joe like takes the time machine and she's like, "I'll do it. I'll break it." And then she gets sent into the
the future, yeah.
the 22nd century.
Mhm.
And
Like Sherlock
so
Yeah,
Holmes.
even though like not a lot happens, I think that these episodes are paced really well.
yeah,
That like it just sort of rolls right over you, you know?
yeah. No, like
Um,
it's not like a bad thing, but it's just like, summarizing the plot of this. It's like, oh, okay.
The end of the episode
Right.
where the doctor just like blows out of the mansion. He's like shooting people, and then the brigadier comes and he's like, "What?" He's like, "Bye, bye, bye, honey," and he steals the brigadier's truck.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
And
And then the
so
doctor sees the Dalek. in the
yeah,
alley.
he's going to this tunnel because that's like a point where this time machine works. So he's going to go into the future to get Joe, and then instead of finding Joe, there's a Dalek in this tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
The opposite of Joe.
Mm-hmm.
What do we think of Joe in this one?
That may very well be true.
And like in the
Joe's
story as a
outfit
whole.
Is the
Oh, yeah.
cutest thing I've ever seen. I'm obsessed with her outfit in this.
Yeah. It is really cute.
She's a good fit for 3 because she's also kind of like, she's cool in that way that like Rose Tyler and Amy Pond are cool.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I she's definitely like the iconic Third Doctor companion. The way that I think Jamie is to the Second Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
I love Joe. I like her whole vibe. I like that she's like mildly damsel-y, but like can also, use that to her advantage and manipulate people with it
Mhm.
sometimes. I don't know. It's just it's good stuff. I really
Well,
like her a
like,
lot. It's almost like they're commenting on the damsel-ness of most companions, and they tried that with the previous companion from the first season, Liz.
Yes.
Where they're like, "Oh, let's do the opposite of a companion." And it didn't really work super well. And now this time they're like, okay, let's do a down the middle companion like it's always been, but sort of use her as a tool to be like, there's more to her than you think.
Mhm.
And I really like that about her. I think
when
it's cool.
when she gets sent into the 22nd century, into the clutches of the Daleks, you're kind of like, okay, I think I know what's going to happen to her, but then instead it's like, okay, now the game of this part of the plot is the controller is sort of manipulating Joe and getting her to be like, look, like you saw how crazy those guerrilla soldiers were. Like we have to
Mhm.
save your friend. And it's
Mhm.
like, oh, cool. So it is kind of making it just a little bit different than her just being thrown into like the brig or something.
Yeah, like a prison cell.
I also just like that she often gets tricked because she has empathy.
Yeah,
Like
she's
Yeah,
worried
she
about
just
her
wants
friend.
to help people.
yeah, she just wants to help people. Like that's really nice. Like it's not because she's stupid. It's just because she's like, well, I mean, it seems like you're having a hard time. All right, I'll help you. Like she
Mhm.
wants to give people the benefit of the doubt, and I just think that that's like, I think that's why the Doctor likes her so much.
Mhm.
Because he's like, yeah, that's good. Like, you get us into trouble a lot, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I like that she's not super damsel-y, and like you were saying, like they do use that as part of their plan in like episode 4 where she's like screaming for
Right.
help, and then they like trick people into coming in. But I wish that she had a little bit more to do, because she's kind of just like in this room in the future for the rest of the episode until the Doctor shows up.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. Those are the best Third Doctor stories. Are the one where she has like a definitive subplot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In episode 3, we get to begin the seeds of Controller's redemption arc,
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
where he's like, "You're working the men too hard," and they're like, "Cry about it."
Is episode 3 where we learn what the Daleks did in the future, or is that episode 4?
It's one of these, but I mean, you can kind
Yeah.
of put it together. There's a part where someone I think says it, and I was like, yeah, they took over.
I like that what the Daleks, like the Daleks basically, like the reason that these guerrilla fighters are traveling back in time is to kill Sir Styles is because these peace talks did not go well. In fact, the house blew up, and everyone blamed Sir Reginald because he's the one who called everyone there. And then like World War III happened. And then because like the world was destabilized, the Daleks were able to take control of the world. And they're using Earth as like, it's like a strip mining operation. And they're just like getting all of the like the raw materials and then like shipping it to Skaro for the
Yes.
Dalek Empire. And I was
Because-
just like,
Please.
Hmm?
Please,
oh,
please, please.
I liked the because this is 100% like an anti-imperialism story.
No, like just the idea of like, yeah, these like fascist robots waited until the world was destabilized and
Mhm.
chaotic and then slithered into power
Yep.
and worked the masses into the bone, and they don't care about grinding everyone into dust. It's like, oh yeah.
Yep.
The third episode is also where the Doctor and Joe escape on that 3-wheeler.
Hell
Oh
yeah,
yes,
it
the
is.
motor trike. Yeah.
Yeah, and really fun story. John Pertwee would just like he would just go to stuff like go to like events and things like that he would just be like randomly invited to because he's the Doctor, and he was like, yeah, I'm gonna milk this for all it's worth. Absolutely. So he was invited to a Honda motor show, and he went and he saw that bike on display, and he was like, I'm gonna ride that. And then literally like went to them and was like, see this? Make it happen. And so here it is. That's it. He was like, that looks cool as hell and I want to ride it.
So funny.
That's iconic.
I
We'll never
love-
have another one like John Pertwee.
No,
honestly.
I love that he just eats and drives places. You know?
Yes.
He had some. He had a good zinger in this one. But I forgot. He like hit someone with a wine bottle or something. And he goes, "A shame. It was a rather good vintage."
That's in
Oh,
the fourth one.
yeah.
That's in the fourth one?
Joe hits the guy on the back of the head with the wine and breaks the glass
Oh, okay.
after faking being hurt.
I
Yes.
have it in my notes as
yeah.
3.
Oh, is that
Oh.
in 3?
I don't know. I thought it was in 4, but
Oh, maybe it is in 3. Maybe you're right, Nick. If it's in your notes under 3, it probably wasn't 3.
Oh, that's why I keep these notes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
See?
So we can.
Yeah, there you go.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Doctor and Joe are reunited. The controller explains what happened, and he's like, well, there's no like,
Mhm.
you know, there's no resisting the Daleks. You know, you can't stop this from happening. And the Doctor is just like, yeah, watch me.
Oh,
And-
has he introduced the paradox yet?
no, that's in the last one.
Okay, like the loop, like the true
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because and that is there anything else
Oh.
in 3 that we wanted to talk about, or
Well, there's I forget which episode this is in. It's either in 2 or 3, but I don't think we mentioned it, and I wanted to mention it. Is the offhanded comment when the controller is like talking to Joe and talking about how important and great she is, and we've got a nice room for you, and like all these things. And he's like, here, look, we got food for you, real food. All of us, like, we've moved on from real food. This is disgusting to me, and I eat pills. But yeah, you know, enjoy little fatty fat. Like that's like the vibe of it. It's just like, you fucking animal. And it's just, and she's like, oh, okay, and it just sort of wanders out of the room.
I feel so
It's
bad
just-
for her
it's
because
really funny.
she's just like, thank you for lunch, but like, weren't you gonna send me back to like 1970 or whatever?
Yeah, and he's like, oh no.
Yeah.
We have a room for you now. I just loved that. I love all of Katie Manning's acting in that scene because she's just like, oh, what is happening?
Right,
Like
she's
she's just
so confused.
yeah, she's very frazzled and like, okay, I guess I'll go over here now.
So the doctor gets captured and he's strapped to that table, and
Yeah.
the cliffhanger image is like while he's on the on the table, we see a giant screen, and it is flashing back between images of the three doctors that there are so far. And my question is like, was that like a would that have really got fans hyped in 1973? Just like seeing the images of the other two doctors.
Yeah, probably
Maybe.
because wait, has Three Doctors happened yet?
No.
No. So yeah, I think people would be hyped for that. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we're still a year away from the Three Doctors, the first anniversary special.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think people would have been like, "Whoa, yeah,
They're acknowledging that yeah.
yeah, for sure." Especially with how much of a hard reset this was, this era, you know.
I think
Yeah.
because you have to like because you're bringing the Daleks back, you have to like throw back to like the last time, like who was Doctor the last time the Daleks were in the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
There's that.
Yeah.
There's that one like kind of throwaway moment where they're like, he looks different, and they're like, well, is it not him? Like, no, he does this. He's done this before.
Right. Oh yeah, wow. I'm just looking. They really do keep up with that season premiere thing. So this is the Return of the Daleks. Next season, it's the Three Doctors. It's the anniversary special. Is
Oh,
the
nice.
season premiere, and then the season after that is the Time Warrior.
Ooh.
So introduction of Sarah Jane Smith.
Yeah.
Wow.
New companion. So yeah, every season premiere has something, big in it. This one being, I think, the weakest of all of the 5 seasons that Pertwee does, but still, Return of the Daleks after 5 years, good
Mhm.
stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I like that. I don't know. I like thinking about like the I don't know, the philosophy behind like the design of the seasons from the producer and the script editor.
Yeah.
Be like, this is how we want this to be. I think that's kind of cool.
It's like another version of what RTD would do, of like his kind
Right.
of structure.
Yeah.
Yeah. That being said, as much as like this being a Dalek story is cool, and it's almost like it's not, but it's almost like a low-key sequel to Dalek Invasion of Earth,
Yeah.
like you could almost tie those two together, like
Mhm.
they're almost on the same timeline or something. But I think it would have been way cooler if it turned out that it's the Master that was behind everything. Because I know we just did that all last season, but the idea of like the reveal of like, oh yeah, the alternate like scary future, that's because this is what happens if the Master wins. Like this is what the Earth looks like.
Mhm.
I just think would have been kind of fun and cool. But anyway,
Yeah. I think
Daleks are good.
I think they because like the whole past season was nothing but the Master. I think they're
Right.
just like, yeah, we need to chill with this guy. for a
Yeah, they
little-
put him on ice
Yeah.
until Sea Devils, I think, is his next one.
Didn't we talk
he's
about
only
that one
that-
already?
No,
No.
that's 2 episodes, 2
Oh,
stories
okay.
from now.
That's my
Um,
definitive Pertwee moment is in that one.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
He snaps at Sea
Um,
Devil's neck.
Yeah. Well, this is also the final season with Roger Delgado.
Mm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because the Time Monster is the season finale of this season. So, yeah.
Wow. I'm
Yeah.
learning a lot about your beef with Time Monster today, Cass.
Yeah, it's just because I back before I was on this podcast, I was like whatever, like I was doing like a hobby blog with my boyfriend at the time, and I had to cover that story and I had to watch that story like 3 times, and I'm only going to rewatch it because we're doing it on the show, and then never again. It's awful.
But-
Yeah.
That's like 2028, right?
I don't know.
I don't know. No, I think it'd be next year that
Oh,
we would
damn.
be covering that. Yeah. Because this year we're doing this, Curse of Peladon, and the Sea Devils, and the next year we're doing Mutants, Time Monster, and the Three Doctors. So,
Okay.
Are we in the 4th episode now?
We are in the 4th episode now. Let's see. So the after escaping on like the motor trike that Pertwee really wanted,
Yeah.
it's like they're escape is short-lived. They're captured by the Daleks. The Daleks identify him as the Doctor, and that's the cliffhanger. And the controller is in the room with them, and like the Daleks want to kill the Doctor, but he's just like, no, we need him because he can lead us back to where these gorilla fighters are, and we need to deal with them. So he basically saves the Doctor's life. He goes, they like put the Doctor back in like prison, I guess, like custody. And then they're trying, like, he's trying to question the Doctor about where the gorillas are, and the Doctor's like, I don't know, man. And then they, like, these same fighters like come in and break him out, which doesn't serve his alibi at all. But they break the Doctor and Joe out. And the Doctor is just like, okay, look, tell me what you're trying to do, because I can help you. And this is where we get the thing where like these peace talks in the 20th century, they didn't go well. The house exploded, and the Doctor is just like, well, that doesn't seem right. Like, what like, let's think about what could have happened, like, aside from Sir Reginald being like a maniac. And we circle back to one of the fighters who got left in the past, and he is like trying to fulfill his mission. So like he basically like rigs a bomb in the basement of the house, and then that's where like the paradox happens, where the Doctor is just like, you caused this future that you're trying to stop by trying to stop it.
It was never Styles. It was always you guys.
Yeah, which I think is cool. But again, it's not really like well served by this story, I think, this concept. So the Doctor convinces them finally, and he goes back to the past. There's a moment where the controller catches up with him, and like previously, when the guerrilla fighters like busted in to save the Doctor talked them down from killing him. So the controller basically is just like, okay, you can go. Like, you saved my life, so like whatever.
Because like while the controller was trying to interrogate the Doctor about the base of the rebels or whatever, the Doctor was the whole time kind of low-key deprogramming the controller. It'd be like, they don't care about you. They're only keeping you alive because like you're useful. Like, don't you want more out of life? Right.
And the Daleks discover that he's a traitor, so he like dies. But he like has like a pretty good like final like word, because like the Daleks are like, you will be exterminated, and he's just like, no, I might have, like, who knows, I may have just exterminated you or whatever, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And the Doctor and Joe come back to like, I guess modern day, like the 20th century, just in time to stop to like empty, like get everyone out of the house before the bomb goes off. They find the guy and they're like, look, you can't do this. Like, there's no one in the house. Like, blowing yourself up isn't worth it. And then the Daleks follow them. So we get the Daleks, all three of them, and these like Ogrons just like firefighting with Unit, which is fun. And the climax of this, so they let the Daleks into the house, and this bomb from the future is made of something called Dalekanium.
Yes, the Dalekanium.
And apparently that's the only thing that can stop Daleks. So he like detonates the bomb when the Daleks go in the house, and then that's it. The story's done.
Scott, what was the element called in Aquaman 2?
Oh God.
Like Horriculum or something?
But
that's the first thing that I thought of when Dalектanium was introduced.
Oh, I immediately thought of unobtainium.
Unobtainium, yeah.
Okay. It's
James Cameron again.
Yeah. They just taped the word Dalek over it.
Oh man, I don't remember what that thing is called. What that element is called.
I think it was Horicellum. Horicellum.
Horicellum.
Cassie had that to look forward to.
Was that good? Aquaman 2?
It was fun. It was really
Okay.
fun.
Uh-oh.
I forgot what.
It's your kind of fun. That's
Okay.
yeah. No, it's your kind of fun. It's fun in the
Okay.
way that Jupiter
Thor: The
Ascending
Dark
is
World.
fun.
Oh boy.
Jupiter
Okay.
Ascending.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I forgot what episode, but I don't want to skip over a part where I think it's a unit soldier, maybe a guerrilla soldier, but he like does a power slide and sticks a grenade on the base of a Dalek, and he explodes like a Roman candle.
You're right, Nick. It is called orichalcum. Orichalcum.
I wasn't right. I said
Oh.
I said like Horicellum.
Oh. Well, maybe I'm pronouncing it wrong. That's entirely possible.
Say it again. Say it one more time.
I think it's orichalcum. I think
Orichalcum with an O.
orichalcum.
Okay.
Orichalcum. I don't.
In my head, the word I was saying started with an H.
Oh, okay. It's a metal mentioned in several ancient writings, including the story of Atlantis. So there's the connection.
So it's actual lore. That's cool.
Yeah, there's actual. Yeah,
That's funny.
yeah, that's funny. Anyway,
That man died. Well, okay. So did the guy die knowing that he was killing the Daleks? But
I guess.
or did he?
Yeah.
Did he still think all those men were still in the house?
No, because the doctor is just like, the house is cleared, like, come with us. And he's just like, no, this bomb is the only thing that can destroy the Daleks. Go on without
Okay.
me.
yeah,
That's cool.
he knew what's up. Yeah, I just love that this story is like house blows up while the doctor watches, turns to the guy and was like, earn this. And then and then that's like credits.
Yeah, your move.
Yeah.
Earn this.
Cut to like a smoldering Dalek chassis.
Knowing that the scene that doesn't get paid off in the first episode with the little time loop is supposed to be the bookend of this makes me so angry.
I know. Yeah. Now you know how Barry Letts felt.
God.
I'm never feeling guilty about like leaving work like 10 minutes early.
Oh, man. God. Could be worse.
Or like,
So
but if you just
wild.
didn't do the last like page of Geek by Night, you were like, they know it.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. They get it.
They get it.
You guys get it. Anyway, God.
Fun
yeah.
story.
That's Day of the Daleks. I think it's not, it's to me it's like a B grade Third Doctor story. But it's a fun one. It's got A+ pops throughout,
Good, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
better than the other Pertwee Dalek story.
He has 3, I think, right?
I thought there was
Oh.
only 2. It's like this one.
No, he
and-
has he has Planet of the Daleks and Death to the Daleks.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well,
Sounds
I'm
violent.
thinking of Death to Daleks. I don't even remember the other ones.
Yeah, I don't yeah. I don't know.
Because that one's Sarah Jane.
Death to the Daleks is Sarah Jane, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Planet of the Daleks is next
Is-
season
Joe?
with
yeah.
Joe. Yeah.
Huh. Well, I'm assuming it's better than, or this one's better than those 2. Because I don't remember the other one.
Yeah. It has something about Daleks intending to learn the secret to invisibility.
Wow.
Yeah.
They'll try
and-
anything, won't they?
I love
yeah.
this show.
Oh, yeah. The Thals are back in Planet of the Daleks.
Oh, right, because they go to Skaro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they plan to locate and destroy an army of 10,000 Daleks.
Yeah. I don't think that one's good, but this one's
Yeah.
fine.
It's actually not Skaro. It's a planet called Spiridon.
Oh my God.
Yeah, which I guess the Daleks moved and the Thals were like, oh, I guess we're moving, and then they just went to another planet, followed them there. Right? There's no Daleks without Thals. We're here, guys. Fuck you.
What are Thals? Are they kind of like the Odie to the Daleks' Garfield?
They're the humanoid guys that they like were half naked in the first like Dalek story. And, like we've been
those
battling
guys.
the Daleks.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, they're what the Daleks like evolved out of after like radioactive mumbo jumbo happened to them. Yeah.
Yes.
There was like a civil war, and the Daleks all mutated to be better soldiers, but they're like little goblins now inside.
So they're kind of like orcs.
robots. Yeah, a little
and
bit.
the Thals are like elves.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, basically.
Well, thank you. Thanks
Yeah.
for giving me that.
Anywho, next time we do Pertwee, we'll be doing Curse of Peladon.
Yes.
Which is that one's an A story. That one's
my favorite. Pertwee
that
story.
one's
Nice.
That one's a real good one.
Can't wait.
Real good one.
I would argue it's the most Captain Kirk Pertwee has ever been.
Does he get
Yeah.
laid?
Is Curse of Peladon.
Yeah, that's sure. That's not. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. It's good stuff. All right, but that's next season. Next week, speaking of favorite stories, we are covering my favorite Fourth Doctor story, and that's a tough call because there's a lot of really good ones. There's a lot of really bad ones, but there's a lot of really good ones. And for me, it is The Brain of Morbius, and we are covering that next week. I am so excited to revisit this story. I love this one so much. This is Nick. This is a Frankenstein riff.
Ooh.
There's a Gothic castle. There's all kinds of good stuff. There's a monster. It's good. It's good stuff.
Brain of Morbius is the one they're kind of referencing in the Paul McGann webisode, right?
Yep.
With the witches?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
The sisters are back.
Yeah.
This is the introduction of the sisters. Is Brain of Morbius.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think aren't they in? Yeah, they're in Capaldi's era too. The sisters.
Are they? Oh,
Yes,
yeah,
they
you're
are.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, they definitely are.
I gotta rewatch Capaldi.
I mean, we actively are.
No, I know, but like not like actually like binge it, not like
Yeah.
over the course of like a decade.
Oh, sure. Anyway, yeah, we're doing whatever the opposite of a binge is.
Right.
But yeah,
Slow drip.
Yeah, slow drip. Yeah. Next week, Brain of Morbius. Really excited. This is one of my all-time faves of Classic Who. Yeah, it's a good one. Thanks for listening, everybody. Go join the Discord. There's a link in the show notes if you're interested in that sort of thing. It's a great place. I've essentially quit social media to just be on the Discord because that's where all the people I like are. So go to Discord and check that out. It's a really fun community, tightly knit, if you will. But always open to new people dropping by and joining in on the fun. So join us on Discord. There's a link to our Patreon as well, if that's something you're interested in. duelinggenre.com/support. That'll take you to our Patreon, and you can support everything we do at Dueling Genre from the Patreon. Yeah, that's it. See you guys next week with Brain of Morbius. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Happy Dia de los Daleks.